Well, here we are, getting ready to continue on with Toby's guitar. And what Toby has asked me for is to do a Magnolia Blossom in his pickguard. So I've already cut and kind of glued together the Magnolia Blossom. Which I didn't think to do a videotape of that, but anyway, here it is. But we will do the inlay. So what I'm going to do is attach, I've got a 90 thousandths thick piece of cellulose, and I don't know if you can see that. You can actually, it's a little thick, but you can see through it. It's a nice looking piece. And we'll thin it out a little bit later once we get the inlay into it. I'm going to attach it to a piece of plexiglass so I have some surface to work with, because when I sand it later I'm going to need to have it attached to something larger than the pickguard in order to do a sanding. So let's get started. The decision is, where do I want it on the pickguard? Just a matter of preference. And I'm simply going to actually I may do, oh, I know I'll probably find what I'm looking for after I use this, but now I'm going to attach this to the plexiglass with some double stick tape. I want to be sure that it covers the entire piece, or very close to the entire piece, because I need to hold be sure that the pickguard stays flat. So we have a nice stable base to put that on. Yeah, I kind of like that. I'm simply going to trace this with a pencil. Give me some nice clear lines to work with. Now this is a nice big piece of inlay, but I've done this with lettering, so you can do names, or pretty much anything. It's still fragile, so what I have is, let's see if we can get a shot of that. Find the doggone. Is my pattern just drawn on there? And I get fairly close to this because I want to make sure I get close to the line. Some people can do it farther away. I like to get nice and close, which is why I have a super magnifier. So I think I'm going to do this in a couple of passes. What I want to do is get as close to the line so that I can take a larger bit and clear out most of the other material. Trying to clear all the material out with a 32nd inch router bit is not too much fun. It's a lot of work. Okay, I got a nice clean line cut. There, so I'm going to take it a little bit deeper. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to change blades or bits, and we'll remove some of the bigger material. Okay, got the piece routed out, completely cleaned off a little bit so that when I glue it in, that none of the white surface would leach into the edges. I've taken the pearl, and because it's on a piece of tortoise and the pearl is translucent, I don't want to be able to see into the edges of it on the dark piece. So I've taken some permanent magic marker and just colored the edges, in this case brown because I'm doing the tortoise. If I were doing black, I'm taking some super thin cyanoacrylate. I want to be sure that this is laying flat down. And the cyano, super thin, will travel under the piece, of course. And glue the entire surface, which is what I want to happen. And if I can see the cyano at the surface of all the edges, then I'm pretty happy that it's down and being held down properly. So I'll hold here for a minute or two. And I'm just going to put a weight on it so that I know it stays flat until it dries. And there we have it, at least at this stage. And then we'll, next section will be sanding it off. Okay, I continually forget to put the camera on, even though I can see it in the lens, so I'll have to describe what's happened here. Sanded down the face of this with 320. Originally 150, 220, and then 320 to get it to this stage. And I looked around the edges to see what was, if there were any gaps, and we had a couple of gaps. And while you're sanding, those gaps will fill with some of the pearl material, and you'll get some white powder in there. So I cleaned all that out, and as I described when we first started this, is the edges are going to have some translucent appearance, and you could see the white edging through the side. So wherever I had a gap, I cleaned that out and then added actually some medium brown stain to the edges and into those gaps where there was a little bit of light coloring. And then I re-cyaned all of the gaps. And that's where we are with this. And I think you can see there, you can see the gaps that are filled now with some cyanoacrylate. We're looking good. I'm going to let this dry for a couple of hours. .220 to 320. Some 400. And there are no scratches left in the pearl, which is looking very nice. I'm going to move to 600 here. That's looking very nice. Moving up to 1500 wet. I do have a piece of 2000 here, so I'm going to go right up to the 2000. Not quite sure if you can. I'll run this quickly on the buffing wheel just to bring the pickguard up and you can see what's going on.